welcome to a new Energy Crew, potentially Lead with Confidence podcast. This is kind of one that's kind of came off the cuff and not traditional than what I've done before. All right, I'm going to kind of give a little context. A lot of times in this industry and a lot of different industries right now, there's a lot of workforce reductions happening. Not only that, people are feeling isolated, they're feeling not motivated, just kind of understanding where their paths can lead, where they can go. And this is kind of, I'm going to bring him on stage right now to the board, but it's Connor Kraus. Connor Kraus, him and I got connected, as most people do in this day and age, online. I was scrolling through TikTok and suddenly you had a hook that kind of grabbed me, Connor. It was, I think you were walking out of a networking event and again, I'm probably going to butcher this backstory. This is the first podcast I've done in a while, so we'll work through this together. But you said something like, hey, I'm Connor. I'm, 26 years old. What is it? 26? What are you?
Yeah, it's about to be 26.
25 and a half years old. 26 years old. And I'm living in Houston with no car. And I quit my full-time job to prove to Gen Z workforce, or the Gen Z generation, whatever that is, that there's ways to hustle and differentiate yourself and find a job. And Connor, that just, first off, being in Houston with no car is an uphill battle and an endeavor, is a story, I think, itself, but also just what you're trying to do. And since I've been following you, and this is like we got connected like a week and a half ago, maybe, but I reached out and I said, man, I just love your inspiration. I love that you're focused, you're dedicated, your mindset, because right now, a lot of people are beat up right now. A lot of people are beat up, in this industry, other industries out there, just kind of, trying to navigate through, especially right now. We're recording this beginning of December during holiday seasons. And I think, there's been headlines the past 4 or 5 months about, a lot of things happening, but I feel like you're carrying the torch, but you're not just trying to do something, in my opinion, to find a job. I feel like you're not just trying to find a job. You're also trying to send a message out there and kind of like, whether you're trying to do this or not, inspire people to maybe kind of take action, have a healthy mindset, and kind of face kind of everyday challenges to kind of succeed, to kind of get out of their own way and succeed. That's why I think, whether this is an Energy Crew podcast or a Lead with Confidence podcast, I think this kind of ties into kind of both of the subjects or the topics and trends that I kind of focus on. So Connor, why don't you kind of, before we kind of get kicked in, like what you do, give me a little background on why you chose Houston, because you're from Chicago, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
So what you start this off, man. Tell me your story and kind of what brought you to Houston, why you're doing what you're doing. And then we'll dive in the other stuff.
All right. Well, that's a perfect segue. So I've been in Houston for almost 3 years now, and I came from actually Austin, Texas.
Okay.
I first got my stint in Texas in 2020. I was like an essential worker for door to door. I helped with pest control services, and I got like a learning from there. I was still in college over at West Virginia University, and I really enjoyed Texas. I really enjoyed the residents there, just because of the friendliness and how large it was. I saw a lot of opportunity. So when I finally graduated college, I worked for a 3PL over in Austin, Texas, and it was a great learning incubator. But I eventually wanted to do something else, more of my sales skills in tech sales. So I got a remote job, and it was my birthday. I remember, which is coming up. It's in the 17th here in December.
Christmas, baby. That's an uphill battle on its own. You know what I mean? You combine those two holidays and call it quits. I like it. So go on.
But with my birthday, I went to visit a lifelong childhood friend, and I was working remote, so it was very flexible for me. And I went to go talk to some strangers here in Houston, and I actually met this one gentleman. He became one of like a mentor of mine, and he showed me all around Houston. And he showed me from Houston all the way from like Fulshire down south of Houston, and then all the way up north near the suburbs over in the Woodlands, and like really everything in between, from the villages to Rice, et cetera, et cetera. And he shared with me a story. His family came, I think, from Syria, and they had nothing when they first came to Houston. They were almost homeless too, and he has now grown his business. He's gotten a great education, and now he has $1 million in his bank account or in assets. Lives in the Woodlands, has a great life. And I saw the American dream so strong in Houston. And I saw all the opportunity. So although Austin was great and there's so many great connections there, I wanted to experience that opportunity, that grind and hustle that Houston is with Hustle City. So I moved here, and I really haven't looked back since.
So wait a minute. So first off, I love the story about kind of I hear that so I'm in the oil and gas space. You hear people starting off as pumpers. I'm thinking of this one gentleman that is a good friend of mine. His father came over and bought like one well from like Pakistan. And next thing you know, he has his own operating companies in different real estate, oil and gas, and it's awesome to see. I think, in my opinion, you're right. Like people that start off with kind of nothing, broke, homeless, and they kind of bet on themselves, and that kind of like, and I see you doing a lot of that too. You're betting on yourself. And the fact you're betting on yourself, what was going on in your mind? The fact that you're going to leave a company, leave a job to come to Houston just to experience, like, talk to me about that, like wanting to experience like the grind and hustle of Houston without having a job lined up after, you quit your awesome job. Like, talk to me about kind of walking me through that process in your mind.
Well, when I first came to Houston, I was working remote in a tech sales job,
Okay.
and I had a good setup there. I was living in Spring Branch at the time, and my journey from that went to entrepreneurship to help with sales and marketing processes. I wanted to see if I can outsource sales deals and help a lot of college students with micro name, image, likeness deals. The only issue was I kind of ran out of capital. My spread margins weren't too high enough for me to keep going efficiently. So I worked in financial marketing here in Houston for an amazing company, and I got some great mentorship. But what triggered me to quit my job, and I think it's been about 51 days,
Yeah.
I noticed that the headlines were really talking about Gen Z men not working, the job market being so tough, and it kind of got to me because I'm a tough guy, and although I had a great job lined up, I knew I can't do anything in this world. So I ultimately decided to quit, decided to transform into a new industry, which is the energy industry that I'm trying to get into. And I know my capabilities of, hey, I can make, and Gen Z knows it especially well. I can make contracts doing anything. They might be micro contracts,
Yep.
but the gig economy is super strong. And with our economy, with our GDP being up in quarter 3, I saw that as a way for me to understand that I will be able to get by until the right opportunity flourishes, and I can just jump on that horse and start galloping for 2026 and beyond. So mostly my motivation of quitting was to really prove to everybody that although there are labor reductions and although the job market might seem hard, we can still get by, and we can still find the right opportunity that we truthfully want if we just don't give up. And
Dude, so you're
that's
you're
what
not you're not just doing this for yourself and your own livelihood. So I like how you're kind of like you're putting you're an experiment. You're testing out yourself. I mean, you're experimenting this concept of, is Gen Z this, is Gen Z that, and you're kind of pushing back against kind of the narrative.
Right, and it is kind of like a social experiment too. I'm showing the, I guess, generosity and the community of Houston to see like, can I get by? I didn't take any unemployment checks. I'm not taking any like government help. I'm doing this all for myself. I'm bootstrapped for cash, but it's working. I'm helping small businesses in an altruistic manner.
Yep.
Maybe I'm not getting paid a lot right now, but I know what I'm doing is good work. And I know at the end of the day, an energy company will take a chance on me once the right opening is set up for me.
So let me ask you a question. I wanted to kind of dive into like, so I follow you on TikTok. I mean, so I feel like, talk to me about, I guess, whenever you are kind of going out there, how are you amplifying your message, and what is you as a Gen Z man doing to kind of like amplify your message? I noticed you're more active on TikTok versus Link. Like, talk to me about kind of like your thought process and how you're positioning yourself.
Yeah. So when I first left my job, I thought I was gonna find something really quick. But did a lot of journaling and I did a lot of thinking, and I wanted to make sure that I work for a company here in Houston that's, a powerhouse. So
Okay.
after I kind of realized that, hey, I want to only truthfully work for maybe a dozen companies here in downtown. I need just one to invest in me. I knew I needed to do a lot of learning and transformation to get there. So my strategy at first was, posting on LinkedIn, explaining why I'm doing this, explaining the objections that I'm going to see on the job market. But I was at a networking event actually for, real estate. Real estate's huge in Houston, a construction company. And I was talking to a family-owned shop. They do construction, new homes all over Houston, and was telling them about my journey on LinkedIn. And they were actually the ones that mentioned to me, "Hey, you should create a TikTok. They do a day in the life. People can really eat that up."
Yeah.
And since I've done that, I have seen success, and I see it still growing.
And what do you mean success by that? What do you mean success? I mean, is success you getting interviews, or is success? I mean, I'm sure there's different measures of success, or is success for you like you getting feedback from other men or women out there being like, "Hey, I'm kind of in the same boat. What you're doing is inspiring. Thanks for this message." What are you kind of seeing for success in your mind?
Oh yeah, that's exactly what it looks like. It seems like a lot of the success comes down to the the people reaching out to me on TikTok. I'm getting a lot of direct messages from, business owners, from family, from just moms, from Houston community. Hey, I want to help you. I don't know how I can help you, but I have this connection, or, hey, my dad's in this sector. I want to connect with you on LinkedIn. Hey, I might have a job opening for you. Send me your resume. So it has been a lot of people reaching out to me
Okay.
through channels, which has been really positive. But I've also been seeing success with just people telling me, "Hey, you're motivating me. Keep it up. Hey, don't give up." And my follower count seems to keep increasing. I'm getting likes, getting views, which seems like the engagement's there.
Yep.
So those are kind of the key metrics I guess I'm tracking for this success.
Have you always been this vulnerable? Like, for example, you do a lot of stuff on TikTok that I respect. I mean, you're like, "Hey, today's gonna be a great day." Then, a couple hours later, like, well, all those interviews were bust. Like, how are you kind of like, first off, being this vulnerable behind the camera? Because I think it takes a lot of courage to do something like that. I think it takes a lot of courage to kind of position yourself. Hey, listen, I'm Jobs. I'm trying to do all this. How are you staying kind of vulnerable, kind of behind the camera? And what do you think that's kind of keeping you going?
I think it's just my steadfast faith. I know everything is going to work out if I keep doing actions. And
Yeah.
as I keep doing my actions and like what I'm doing good, what I'm doing bad, I will be able to come up with my own process to be able to really, scale whatever's going to happen to me in the future. And the vulnerability just comes from this new day and age of, AI. AI right now is really powerful, and
In
everyone
what
wants.
regard? What regard? Let's talk, because I'm interested on different, generation, different people's lenses on this. What in regards to in your bubble? What do you feel like it's powerful for?
Well, I see these startup founders that are creating these large language models, and they're able to automate so many different tasks.
Yeah.
And now, if you know how to use AI, or if you create the right strategic partnerships, your efficiency is 10xing, and that's not even an overreaction. And if we're using AI in the right way, humans, we're going to be more productive, and we're going to be very successful. But what AI really can't replace, and what I'm digging into, is that emotional aspect and
Yes.
almost that vulnerability. AI wants to tell you, hey, they're always right. Maybe AI can make mistakes, but the AI won't go out and tell you, hey, this is our mistake, or this is the percentage that's right. That's what's hidden from the regular human eye. So what I can do to keep them, be emotional, show people, hey, I'm a human. That's my biggest leverage over AI.
Dude, 100%, man. That's like my whole platform. It's human interaction over AI. Listen, again, AI efficiencies, I respect. I think it's here. I love it. I think if you utilize it correctly, obviously the efficiencies, productivity, XYZ. But when it comes to connecting with people, when it comes to putting yourself out there, reading a room, telling a story, doing what you're doing, inspiration, I mean, it's obviously not there. And I think what you're leaning on is directly kind of what my platform as well, which obviously I'm going to dig more. But I really appreciate that. So I've noticed also when it comes to your TikToks, like you're not sitting on your ass, you're not sending out resumes for this big void that a lot of people do. You're active, right? Like for example, I think it was during Thanksgiving holidays before you went back home to Chicago. I reached out to you just to say hello and hey, whatever. Do you want to do whatever? And you were like, hey man, let's chat later on. I'm volunteering at Goodwill. And then it's like I see you helping out these other local small companies when it comes to their marketing, when it comes to even like loading stuff on trucks. Like your humility is amazing. Like you're able to get out there and not sit on your ass and send resumes out and feel like, well, I did it. I did my part. I sent resumes out there. You're actually getting active. How are you getting active? How are you finding these places to kind of join volunteer? And what does that do for you in your journey?
It just keeps me focused, it keeps me disciplined, but it also shows that if I keep doing, these habits, I can be unstoppable in the future. But I'm doing this strategy over, the resume strategy because I've had a lot of jobs. I'm about to be 26. I am very, young, but a lot of great people have been young and created some big things. And at this point in my life, I'm not looking for just another job where I can learn and then maybe leave and level up somewhere else. I'm
What are you
looking
looking for?
for
How about this? What are you looking for? Let's boil this down. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for a company that I can go all in for, that I can work beyond a 9 to 5. And I feel like if I'm proving myself by, volunteering at the Goodwill or going to a networking event from 6 to 10 p.m. or helping out, the community anywhere I can, a company sees that and they're going to be like, well, what if this guy can help me out with whatever we need? And
Okay.
that's exactly, what I'm looking for. And I know a lot of companies out there are great companies and they really care about, working that 9 to 5 or that work-life balance. But for me, truthfully, a work-life balance is a company that wants me to be all in because, a company that is comfortable with me wanting to work longer hours, but then also still caring about my health and my well-being. That's the importance of, what I see as like a capitalistic dream or like my American dream. So I'm fighting that hard. And if I and I have I have a community of like young Gen Z all stars that are all doing different approaches to finding a job in this
Okay.
market. And we're seeing that, applying applying to a bunch of different companies, it can work, but showing your humility, showing that you can work for a small company until that bigger leap for people that are maybe just looking for a job right now definitely works as well.
Okay.
And I see great success in that, but there has to be another way for me to stand out, to show people, hey, don't just rely on applications because there are a lot of applications right now. So just doing whatever you can to kind of stick out
Well,
is
bro,
my
I mean,
advice.
you're talking about AI, and coming in efficiency and all that stuff. Well, take that to the HR side of things, the recruiting side of things. If you're not hitting the buzzwords, you're not in this. I mean, for example, you may not even have a resume, but be the best fit for a culture, be the best fit for a team, be that catalyst to drive it forward. So, again, I'm in agreement with you that sometimes AI and resume, it's like, do you have the right words in your resume to get it through the filter to have that interview? And oftentimes, think about, and again, in the I work with a lot of interns as well in the summertime. And that's been a big comment before. It's like, a lot of times these, companies will come in and pick off the top 10% of, grade wise, right? That's their standard. Like if you're not top 10%, we're not going to interview you. However, there's so much talent and there's so much good, coachable, sharp, smart people that are in that bottom 90%, right? That don't have those high grades. And it's like you're leaving a lot of meat on the table by just whether it's utilizing AI to streamline, make things more efficient when you're selecting, or really not kind of like taking time to see the person behind the resume, to see the humanity behind the resume. And I just think it's kind of a shame because think about this. Like, let's say you're in college and you're working. So, and this is for the college students out there, and you're working, you got, a job, you're in school, you're bouncing this, bouncing that, and you're coming out with a 3.0 GPA. You're not going to get picked off by the traditional method. But for me, I'd rather have someone that can, bounce multiple plates, has real world experience, but also apply themselves in school. So I get it. I think I don't know what pedestal I'm on, but I get the frustration side of things. So when you're going after all these potential opportunities, what are some major obstacles or objections that you're kind of hearing from a lot of different companies? Like I mentioned, you had one TikTok about, hey, listen, and I love what you're doing too, because you're also providing like, hey, listen, here's my day. Here's some objections I've heard, and here's ways I'm getting around it. So you're not just providing value on your day, you're also helping your audience out there or your viewers out there. So walk me through some main objections that you're feeling that are either accurate or kind of full of shit.
Right. Well, objections are, all over the place, and the first thing that comes to my mind, because it's been day 51, I'm constantly out networking. It is definitely like the receptivity of like if someone wants to talk to me in the first place, because I'm just a random guy that just walked into your business or walked into a networking event, and I'm pitching myself. And some people they might not want that, and I don't want to be a me monster. I want to be very other centered. I want to learn from a person, but if they don't want to open up to me, I can't convince them to open up. So that's a big objection that I'm seeing, and how I'm getting over it is kind of just grooming it over, creating like that long-term relationship. Following up has been really key, because my follow-up game has been getting stronger and stronger,
Good.
and I feel like that's going to be the reason why I ultimately find my dream job. Another objections I'm seeing is because I'm doing boots on the ground approach. I want to see someone in person, and there's a lot of barriers to entry there. We have that great security technology now where you can't just walk into an HR office. You have to do everything online, which is fine, but the people I'm either talking to are security guards or secretaries, and secretaries are great to speak to, but of course they might not be the ultimate decision maker. So I just hope they can champion my voice to help me get just an in with that HR. And then like the third thing that I'm seeing that is an objection is like just finding the right decision maker. I'll talk to somebody and they might be a team lead for a Wells company or a recruiter for like for engineers, but that, that's not my space. So although they're in the company or the industry I want to get into, it's great to connect with them on LinkedIn, but they can't get me that role of what I'm looking for if that's not what they focus on. So just finding that decision maker and getting in front of them has been a really big objection. And I've been thinking of outside the box ways to do that. Even mailing my resume to
Old school.
decision makers like front desks to see, hey, this is my resume. Hopefully you can see it this way. Let's just get on a call. I just want 5 to 10 minutes to pick your brain. I love a chance for you to take a chance on me.
So you're trying every single way. You're going from, I love it. You're going from TikTok to actually snail mail. I love it. So how are you? So again, taking a page out of your playbook, right? You're in Houston. You have no car. AKA that for me, that's no excuses, right? How are you finding these networking events from all these different industries? You're doing real estate, you're doing finance, you're doing startups, you're doing oil and gas. Like, I love how you're kind of like building this robust network that's only going to help you throughout your career and your life, in my opinion. And I'm a huge fan of this. How are you finding these opportunities and weighing like, hey, listen, I'm about to get on the bus? Because a lot of times you'll post like 11 p.m. You're like, hey, just got done with the networking event. Took me an hour to get home on the city bus and all that stuff. I'm home. It was good. I met these people. How are you finding these, and how are you kind of weighing what's worth your time and your public transport to get places to network at these events to find your next role?
I like that question. In all transparency, that's one of the big things I'm working on with time management, because I don't know if a networking event is going to be worth my time, but I do know if I spread good vibes only and I can provide information and services and I can receive, some information or services, I know it'll be somewhat worth my time. So I will just risk it. And if it's in a radius of, downtown Houston, or I know I can take a bus there, I'll go for it. But I find these events from just, I do have like it's like an AI, I guess, assistant.
Yeah.
And the AI assistant will help me scrape the internet for all these events that have been posted online. But using LinkedIn, I would say is a plus for this, because a lot of business professionals are posting about, hey, their networking events on LinkedIn. And when I see that, hey, I'm interested in that. And then the last thing is just forming that community. So I know a few small business owners that they do events for their profession. So being a part plugged into those communities, they're posting, I think, 5 events a week. So I know I will always have an event to go to if I need to go to an event. And that's been really convenient. And following people that go to events like me on, Eventbrite or Meetup, I can see exactly what they're going to or what they're interested in, which pushes me to decide, okay, this could be a good fit for me as well.
Dude, let's talk about this. I think right now, again, talking about human interaction over AI and all that stuff, there's a lot of and again, this isn't a sign of a generation thing, in my opinion. I think this is a sign of kind of just where we are with technology and how humans interact, right? It's 55% body language, 38% pitch and tone, but 7% is words. However, the majority of how we communicate is via text message, email, and all this stuff. So for you to take yourself out of the behind the screen and actually put yourself in a room full of strangers, full of professionals, full of people that potentially change your life, how are you finding the confidence, or even not the confidence, just the, hey, I'm gonna get uncomfortable with this? Like, how are you mentally approaching these rooms? And number two, what has been your best trick on actually opening up a conversation with people that may be superior in their careers than you?
Yeah, those are two good questions. I would say, you got to overcome social anxiety. So it's back to that
How?
good.
How are you overcoming that? How about that?
For me, I truly believe we could be able to discuss any conversation as long as you can openly listen and be okay with having talking about different sides of whatever spectrum that you're speaking about. And if I'm a big believer in that good vibes only. So if I know I'm going to spread good vibes to all of these people in this room, I know people will spread good vibes back with me. And if you look at it maybe in their perspective, everyone might be a little nervous to come to these networking events. Some people might just want to pitch you their product or service, and it's good. Maybe I'm not interested in their service at all, but hey, I'm letting them practice on me, and now maybe I can have them calm their nerves, and we could pivot to something else, or maybe we can get in each other's networks, and they can help me find a connection that I solely need, and hey, I can help you find a connection because going to these network events, you have a big Rolodex. And that's something that, I was really taught in college, that connections are going to be one of the biggest reason why people succeed. So
100%.
going to these things, my go-to is I will have business cards for small businesses or a business that I might be working with, just on the side. And it's a great way to just have a breaking the ice strategy. Like, hey, check out this business card. This isn't me. This is the Graphene Solution, a company here in Houston, Texas, that is able to have this nanotechnology for clean concrete, or the solar renewable industry. I'd love to tell you more about it. And usually that sparks some interest. Hey, what's that? Oh, I heard about that. Like, can you tell me more? Yeah, I'll tell you some more. And then I go to them. But enough about me. What about you? And just overcoming that social anxiety piece of being able to spread an information and service. It usually breaks the ice pretty well.
And so you're how do you schedule, or how do you plan your week? I mean, is one of those things you wake up in the morning, you're like, hey, I'm going to seize the day and figure this
Yeah.
out? Or is it one of those things you're more strategic about it? Like, hey, Monday this, Tuesday this, Wednesday this, Thursday this.
No, so I used to be a big like calendar guy. Like, hey, I'm gonna set my calendar up for the whole week or the whole month. But what I noticed was, like, human nature, things happen. There are errors. So what I've done now, which has been a lot more helpful, is I will journal at night, like what I did today and then what I plan to do tomorrow. But then in the morning, that's when I'll actually update my calendar for that day. That way it'll give me a better, clear vision of like what I'm going to do and like where I'm at, versus just telling myself, hey, this is what I need to do this week or this month. I notice I'm not doing all of that or completing it to my fullest. And I A/B tested this for a whole like I did it publicly on actually on LinkedIn in June of like last year, of like, hey, I'm this is my exact day. I'm gonna try to do everything I'm telling the world that I'm doing. And I got to like I think it was like an 88% completion rate. So it wasn't perfect. So now what works better that I've seen is like planning your day on that day. Because you don't know, for me, I don't
Yeah.
know what's going to happen. Like, okay, I want to set up a meeting with a company to help, help them with experiential marketing or sales. So I can, have a 2 hour time frame of just doing that. Let me do cold calls or let me do boots on the ground approach. I could plan that day, and it makes me a lot more, I guess, efficient. But time management is still something I'm fighting. Like
We're all fighting that.
yeah,
We're
like
all fighting
I
that.
wish we had another hour in the day. I wish we had 25 hours.
Well,
But
that's what AI is here to do, help free us our time. All
well,
right. So, hey, talk to me about some misconceptions that you're kind of like, so I guess let me kind of put some context in this. There's a lot of conversation right now with a lot of, people in leadership positions, like, how do, this next generation, they want, $100,000 to push a broom or whatever, and all that stuff. There's the generational misalignment. How about this misunderstanding? And I heard this interesting kind of discussion with a gentleman named he's a thought leader, Simon Sinek, and I think that's how to pronounce his last name. And he mentioned it was a very interesting kind of observation. He's, historically, people are very loyal to companies, right? So you'd be there for 10 years, 15 years, you'd get some sort of, bone, whatever, they'd wrap you in, right? However, through the recent 5 years, whatever, there's been such a rapid change from employee loyalty to employees or company loyalty to employees, where it's like you have to understand the Gen Z lens, where it's like, hey, I can do this work, I can do X, Y, Z, but I'm not going to put in 80 hours for that carrot that next year potentially it's going to be some workforce reduction. So pay me my value now so I can contribute to this. So I mean, is that in line with kind of the mind? I mean, obviously you can't speak for the entire generation,
right.
but with this misconception or whatever, or is it a reality where things are that expensive, where it's like, hey, this is the market rate to get good, young, coachable, motivated talent? Like, what's some misconceptions that you can kind of help maybe bridge a little bit, or maybe shed some light on when it comes to that? How do I talk to the young generation that wants this just to do this?
Well, yeah, I would say if like going from like an HR perspective, like how do I talk to a Gen Z to bridge that gap?
Whether it's HR or whether it's people in leadership roles right now.
People
I
in
mean,
leadership,
yeah, yeah.
right? Well, there's definitely, I've worked a lot of different corporate jobs, and we're entry level jobs are usually Gen Z, and you have different personas of Gen Z and like what their end game is. And I think leadership positions really have to understand what a Gen Z person's end game is to understand like what they want to do, because there are some Gen Z folks out there that they truthfully they don't really want to work. They want an entry level position, and if you want to hire a Gen Z person like that, by all means go ahead and then structure your company like that. But then there are hungry and driven Gen Z individuals, like me, that are willing to go above and beyond, and they want to go above and beyond. So my question for that, that leadership gap is like, well, why don't you make it harder on them? Why don't you make it harder on some of us Gen Z men that are driven, that want that big opportunity? Why don't you give us that big opportunity and give us a really strict quota for our first 30 or 90 days that we have to hit?
So
Because
rather than coddle, you
right.
challenge.
Well, yeah, we don't want like a lot of us Gen Z. I would say a lot of us Gen Z men, especially, we don't want to be coddled. We believe we have the tools and we know how to use AI to our advantage to be able to excel. Or we do have a big Rolodex. We have connections from college. We have connections from high school. We have connections from our professional work environment, and we know how to sell and we know how to market. So why can't you give us a stronger leadership position? Why are you coddling us? And we're not saying like, hey, give us $100,000 right off the bat when a company might only can afford half of that, and then everything else can be commission. But maybe give us a higher chance, and in 30 days, if we can't produce, wipe your hands with
Revisit.
us, yeah,
Yeah.
and eliminate us. But I don't see those opportunities happening. But I am hopeful that soon modern hiring will be like that, because I see a lot of Gen Z people, interested in that perspective. So I hope that that can happen. But I would say, I guess the third persona of Gen Z people are, they don't know what they don't know,
Yeah.
and they're willing to learn. So those are a great coddle bunch, and those are the, I guess, the type of men I'm seeing that are working for a company, and it's been 4 years, and they might be at that same position, but I know they're learning, and maybe they have a slower learning curve than other driven individuals, but they're wanting to learn. But I would say a leadership position just they have to be hands on what they truly want, because I think Gen Z is very transparent, as long as they can trust the leadership or the boss. But the boss is going to have to give the leadership, the Gen Z
A path,
employee, yeah, or like at least 5 minutes of their time to
empowerment,
figure out, like, hey, what type of person are you? Let me make sure I can curate this for you.
dude. You see that? I mean, that's culture. That's going down the hall. It's having conversations. If you're upset about the next generation or the generation above you, I really think it's building the bridges and just talking about what you're talking about. I think it's having the ability. And here's the deal also, what sucks too, I feel like this day and age, again, is another platform that people aren't investing in their employees when it comes to personal and professional development. So that's also another challenge I think that's out there. Talk to me about your experience in one of the fourth largest city with no car, and kind of your experiences with that. I mean, the first thing you're going to purchase after your job, I'm sure it's going to be potentially a car.
Well, if a company wants to, like, wants me to have a car, I feel like that could be an arrangement. But the whole point of me not having a car in a very car heavy city like Houston is, because of our infrastructure right now. We have really bad traffic, and we have potholes, and I'm trying to fix the roads, and I'm trying to show Houston that, like, hey, I know I just moved here 3 years, but I want to be I want to be a provider for this community. And if I have to do an altruistic approach to that, and take public transport or Uber, or carpool, and not have a car my first 5 years in Houston, I will, because I love this city so much. So
That's
the
wild.
whole point of the not having a car aspect is really because, like, of my my drive to be accepted here in Houston.
That
And
was intentional.
it's intentional. I don't want I don't want people to, you hear that old adage of, like, hey, Houston is full. Hey, don't move here. Houston's full,
Yeah.
because the traffic is so bad. And I did move here from Austin, Texas, and I moved here, because I loved it. I wanted to try living in the city. But something I learned from the locals right away was, like, the traffic's so bad. Houston's full. You don't have I didn't have a job offer down here. I just moved down here. So I thought it was like the least I can do to show the Houston community, hey guys, I know it's maybe a small impact, but it could be an impact for greater heights in the future. So I will have a car, like, of course, like, when I'm living solo dolo here, but of course when I get married, or have a kid, I'm gonna have to get a car,
Yeah.
for them. But right now, I'm thankful to be able to walk. I'm thankful for my health. So I'll continue to uh, not have a car to help Houston until a big transformation happens for me.
Dude, I love your mindset, man. I love how you approach things in your mindset right now. So wrapping up this stuff, what's your message? What are you looking for, and how can people contact you?
Okay, yeah. So my message to, I would say Gen Z men, but really anybody looking for a job right now, is don't give up. The economy is strong right now. There are opportunities everywhere. Find your opportunities, run with them until a big transformation happens, because this is the year of the snake. This is the year of transformation. So big things are coming your way. If you don't give up and you continue to do those actions, so you can create that process. I am currently looking for a role here in downtown Houston, Texas. I'd ideally like to be around less than 3 miles away from the Toyota Center, where the Houston Rockets play. And I'm looking to get into the energy, or the AI sector. I think I would be a great asset for it. And I'm just looking for a person to, want to be able to hone in on, be able to help me hone in on my energy and, be that mentor for me so I can be all in. Um, and you can contact me, on LinkedIn, or you can contact me on, TikTok. We can hit me with a direct message, and I can share you with my resume, my email. We can get on a call, and we can see what we can build here in Houston, because I'm a builder.
Dude, I love that, man. I think you are, man. I'm glad I was able to snag you before you kind of got in a full time career because I see something in you. I see potential, and I see something that's needed. And honestly, I mean, I've been in this industry, and I know this industry is tough. And I started my entrepreneurial journey, I think, about 4 years ago. And what you're putting out there is definitely inspiring me. I think it speaks to me, inspires. I think a lot of people. I think if they heard your message, and kind of just you're showcasing your vulnerability, but not only that, you're also stepping up. You're helping out. You're volunteering at Goodwill when you could be looking for a job. You're helping these small, companies out. Yeah, for experience, but you're also adding a lot more value than I'm sure what you're getting, compensated for. So the fact you keep putting yourself out there, the fact your message is so inspirational, raw, and speaking to a generation of whether it's men or whether it's women in the Gen Z space. Like, I love what you're doing, man. I appreciate you doing what you're doing and you sharing your story and your journey, and just kind of, I just want to keep it up, man. Like, keep it up. You're inspiring me.
Thank you, JP, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to, build my brand awareness and put my message out there, because I think it's important to do. And yeah, I promise you, I won't give up. I'm going to keep going, and I know something big is going to happen. I'm just hopeful that I can keep, bringing people together and, interconnect this, world to this interconnected universe we live in.
Well, maybe we'll be doing this in 6 months. You'll give us an update on what worked, what didn't work as you land your next role. How about that?
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to be back on.
All right, Connor. I appreciate your time. Everyone, this is Connor Kraus. If you want to check him out, obviously, you can go find him on LinkedIn, find him on TikTok. Your handle on TikTok is what?
It's Connor is leading.
Connor is leading. Love it. So, Connor, thank you for your time. Thank you, everyone out there, for tuning in. Again, I love just action. Take action, be positive, and spread good vibes only. I think those are the great way to sum this up. So, Connor, I appreciate your time. And if anyone's looking for a motivated, inspiring, coachable, obviously, just you've heard the podcast, reach out to Connor. So, thank you all for tuning in. We'll talk to y'all soon.